All right, so if you're like me, you're curious how these Farmer Tech 395s are going to hold up. When they first came out, I bought four of them, even with the painted plastics and that kind of goofy stuff. So I put about 10 gallons on mine milling on a 52-inch mill setup, hot, cold weather, all of it. And I did port it right away. I ran one stock for a while and I was pretty happy with the performance stock. But here's just sort of a review of mine after about 10 gallons milling. This plastic up here, I'll get you up in here so you can see it. That's no good. I did just have to put a coil in it because the spark died. And there is a little bit of scoring on the exhaust side. Now, that being said, I think the scoring is because of how hot I have this ported, and I was doing 10-foot cuts, about 30 to 40 inches wide, on some maple and some cherry. And I think, truthfully, I just let it get too hot. You can see the plug. It's definitely running rich. When I mill, especially on this setup, I like to go 32 to 1. I like to give it all kinds of lubricant, Amsoil, Sabre. Here's the cylinder. So you can see there's the scoring. Particularly, let me get it pulled back over here for you. You can see the line. You can see the one spot that's particularly bad. There's a little bit everywhere. This is a Farmer Tech top end. I'm not going to sweat it. I can put another top end on this, no problem. I'll probably put a Dukes on it because I've used those on some customer saws and I really like them. My only complaints about these saws so far is sometimes they're not shipped super well with everything they need. The quality and the fit and finish on most stuff is a little bit better than I'm used to seeing from China. But like these handles are wonky. You can actually see how much flex there is here on this because it's twisting that AV mount. But I've abused this thing pretty roughly. Like I said, 10 gallons milling. And most of the stuff I milled was 30 inches plus wide. Some all the way out to 50 inches, 48 inches on my mill. Overall, I'm happy with it. I think for what these cost, they are fantastic value. They hold up pretty well. The coil thing everybody knew about right off the bat. The first run of saws had, I think, a slightly undersized piston. Had some slap issues. I think they've dealt with that. I haven't seen that on the four that I've put together. And otherwise, they've been pretty good. I felt like they're pretty reliable. If you like to tinker with these sorts of things, I think they're a good option, especially if you want a mill or just want a big CC falling bucking saw, whatever. I think these are a great option. They're a good value. Obviously, there's going to be stuff you've got to sort out and deal with. The reason this has an OEM starter is because the aftermarket one broke. Center post broke right out of it. No good. But this also makes 225 PSI. I know, it's too hot for milling. But it is what it is. I didn't necessarily build it to mill. I built it to build it and have fun and spin it on the lathe and be a goober. So, anyhow, the only other issue I'll bring up at this point is hardware. Honestly, you're almost better off just going ahead and getting OEM versions of these or going to your local hardware store and getting some kind of grade 8. Because I think on all of these Chinese saws that have these big studs, for the mufflers, they don't hold up super well. But otherwise, I'm happy with it. I'll fix some of that hardware. I'll probably keep running this top end until it does actually quit, because it hasn't yet. It still makes good power, still runs, still pulls just fine. And there you go. That's my opinion. That's what I think of them so far. Here's a little clip of it just idling here in the shop.